Hello, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? We've made some progress in both the winners bracket and the consolation bracket, and we're edging closer and closer to getting to the finals of these two brackets. Been a lot of games. Unfortunately, the way that these things happen is nothing happens for like a week, 2 weeks, and then suddenly a bunch of games all at once. So there's quite a few games to go through, really. Um, been some absolutely exciting games, absolutely fantastic ones. Not many disappointing ones at all, to be honest. And we've had some beautiful upsets, which we'll get onto in a moment. We'll start off with the consolation bracket, as the more exciting stuff is in the winners bracket. So, um, Thundercats, as we're calling them, just remembering, they got a bye in the first round, so they didn't play anyone. Baguette against Hellfire was a default win for Baguette. Hellfire couldn't sort themselves out, which is unfortunate. Which means that it's going to be Thundercats against Baguette in the semi-final. Over here, though, Bastard Munchen against Seventh Sky was a very, very close game. I missed it because they didn't tell me about it, or else I would have streamed it and it'd be on YouTube. But I can look at the scores. I don't know why Faceit doesn't show the scores. I don't see it. It could be here on the screen, but I don't see it anywhere. I have to go in as an admin to match actions, and I can see the scores. So in the first round, Seventh Sky beat Bastard Munchen 24-23. Second round was very one-sided, unfortunately, with 38-23 to Bastard Munchen. And the third round was won by one frag. I think this would have been a really, really interesting, exciting game for us to stream. Would have been calling for Seventh Sky for the upset. Always go for the underdogs, really. And it would have been a nice story. Seventh Sky have got a lot of players that are not that experienced in competitive Jedi Knight, so it's a nice game to watch them try and develop and get their footing into the game, really. So that was a good game, very, very close, but Bastard Munchen go off into the semi final. Then we had Haste against Jedi Sentinels, which I got massively wrong. I thought the Haste were going to win this. They turned up with Netchez, Airy, and Samael. Orange didn't turn up. He's not been that active and frequent away. And I thought that's a good lineup. These two are really quick, Netchez and Airy. Very quick, sharp jumpers. They can be very aggressive. They can overwhelm the opponent, catch them off guard, do great stuff. And Samael is someone that's more ground based, but it makes space for his teammates to play in. It's a good balance. It's a good setup. He can slow down staffers and stuff. He can be blocky and annoying and hit hard. And JS turned up with all four of these players. And I thought that there's no Grizzle here, there's no Percy, no Sphere. They're missing out on some players. I couldn't have been more wrong about this. This was a very one-sided match. JS came out with so much confidence. They absolutely just went for it from the first minute, where Easy, Roadrunner, and Min played the first round, and they just went for Haste on Kepler, and Haste couldn't find any space. They couldn't deal with it. I mean, the pressure from Roadrunner meant that Min and Easy just cleaned up so much and got so many opportunities. First round was 42-23. And considering how experienced these two players are at the top, especially Netchez is very, very experienced, you wouldn't think that was possible. But and these guys play well together, but absolutely tore them apart. They collapsed instantly and just kept going. JS did not stop with the pressure. And then going into round two, I can't remember the score exactly, but 31-16 is a similar sort of situation. I believe if memory serves, Easy went to spectate so that Min could come in. Yeah, I'm 100% sure that's right. So the pressure continued from Roadrunner, and Miniar was just doing destruction, and Spook just fit in perfectly. And these guys fell apart in terms of teamwork and in terms of structure, and they couldn't get it together. And it was a real struggle for them. And Jedi Sentinels just looked like a different level of team, which completely caught me off guard. And I'm really proud of them. Well done, Jedi Sentinels. It was a great game. That game's on the YouTube channel if you want to go and see it. Where's this goddamn bracket? So that means it's going to be Bastard Munchen against Jedi Sentinels. If you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago who'd win this, I wouldn't know. Probably Bastion Munchen because Timmy's played really well at times. But I'm going to go for Jedi Sentinels all the way. And it's going to be it is going to be more difficult because Roadrunner is a dueler and he's going to be up against one or two staffers, so that's going to be tough. But the way they play together, the amount they've practiced, and the form they're on, I just don't think Bastion Munchen's going to be able to do it. And I think that a Jedi Sentinel against Thundercats final, because Thundercats will almost definitely beat Baguette. Baguette shouldn't beat this lineup. I mean, there's been loads and loads of upsets this cup, so it's possible, but being realistic, it's not going to happen, and you're probably going to get Jedi Sentinels against Thundercats. That would be really, really good to watch. And then Team Baguette against Bastion Munchen for third place. That's my guess, but great game so far, and I'm looking forward to this game specifically down here, and then the final. If we then go to the upper bracket, quite a few more matches played. Bada bing, as there were quite a few more teams. So we'll start with the top and work our way down, unfortunately. So it was my team against Team Clean. We tried. We didn't come into it was EU round first, which was on Glisa, and we didn't come into it with confidence. And we found ourselves in trouble against two staffers, Crime Lord and Starty. And we felt, even though they had high pings, that we had to be careful against them, and we kind of got ourselves into a mess. And this meant that we were focusing on them too much, thinking they were the threat, and Rob is just free, absolutely bishing us from behind and whatever, and overlapping, and he gets a ton of frags. It did not go well. Towards the end of the first round, we started to just go, fuck it. And we realized then, right, if we just push in more, be more aggressive and confident, we started to break them down and we started to catch up. We didn't have enough time to catch up, and I think the first round we lose by a handful of frags, maybe 4. Okay, no one's putting the scores. I think we're maybe like 3 or 4 frags or something like that. And we came back from a much bigger deficit. Second round, though, on NA, on Abathar, with so much space and switch staffers, we got absolutely minced early on, and I particularly did badly, and there was no chance. I think on a better day, we'd win the EU round by a little bit. We would get mashed on the NA round, whatever, and we'd have to do some real tactical brilliance in order to beat them on the third round, really trying to restrict their frags on the NA side, which then leads on to Disorder against Clean, which just happened, and it was kind of the reverse to a certain degree. So, firstly, first round on an NA server, Team Clean absolutely destroyed Disorder by 17 frags. It was a bit of frustration from Disorder that it didn't look like they were warmed up. They played Frida, Razor, and Spirits, and the Crime Lord played with Single, and we had Rob and Starty with Staff. It just worked out very. Rob destroyed. They just couldn't. They just kept attacking, and Rob just caught them off guard, and his defense worked incredibly well. And it got to the point where they had too many frags of a lead, and Disorder just gave up and fell apart. Next round, completely different. Played with Till on EU round, and Till, Spirits, and Razor were too much, and they won by 17 frags, and they absolutely harassed them. They'd warmed up a bit by then, they'd gotten used to things a bit by then, they didn't, they were more stable. So when they went into the third round, which started on EU, they decimated. In 6 minutes, they got a 14 frag lead. The two singlers, Rob and Crime Lord, on both parts of the EU rounds, couldn't stop Till and Spirits. It's just impossible. And Razor's doing a really good job as well. And then when it came to the EU round, because Disorder had gotten so much confidence, a big lead, and they knew they just had to defend, it came out at 12-12, even Stevens on the NA side. So it was a one-sided final in the end, round 3, I mean. It was really, really good. Clean did have their chance, and on another day, it's, as I say, their route to victory against Disorder was similar to our route to victory against them. We had to win our round, basically, our EU round and their NA round. And when it came to the third round, you have to be really tight with your defense on the opposition's half, and then just doing your best to get frags on your half. And if you get that solid defense and restrict your opponent from getting too many frags, then you have all the chances then to win it overall. But it didn't happen. Disorder were just so solid when it came to that third round. We also had obviously these two are bye rounds. Executors against No Surrender. First round went to No Surrender, in which Borko played. Let me just get the results up, see if I can find it. 19-16 to No Surrender. Executors were proving a bit difficult to break down. They weren't completely... they weren't falling apart, even though the No Surrender had two staffers. Did they have two staffers? I can't remember now. I know Wrongful was playing staff. For the life of me, I can't remember very well. But executioners were holding hard. And I know, yes, that this next round where executioners win, Borko went spectate. I remember that, yeah. So Borko played the first round and they won. And then the next round without him, executors were too tough. They had better teamwork than No Surrender. They were just more stable and more focused to the win. And without Borko, they couldn't break them down. It wasn't working. I think Borko used single in the first round, if I remember rightly. Round 3, executioners win as well. Borko comes in, he plays duels to begin with, and then changes to single, I think. And they had Wrongful, and I can't remember, did they have Bones as their third player? Oh, Tomo, I can't remember, or maybe both. It was a little while ago, I can't remember. But realistically, Borko wasn't trying. He was having fun. Nothing wrong with that. He doesn't have to be super try hard. And unfortunately, his teammates weren't able to break down executioners. And executioners really ground out this result and did really, really well. It's a really big result for them. And they should be proud of it. If Borko was 100%, went full serious in, I reckon they probably still win No Surrender, but it would be fairly close. But without Borko going serious, then yeah, No Surrender just didn't have enough. So that leads to a match between Executioners and Disorder. Obviously, Disorder are big favourites, but still will be shouting for Executioners. And then in the bottom half of the table, Team Cerberus obviously had a default win. And then we had the most interesting match, the most views of any YouTube video that I've had by more views on this game than second place, than double second place. Second place is like 500, 600. This is 1,200 plus. This HAC against Won't Die. There's a story to be told here. There's a story of Won't Die, who came in incredibly arrogant, with no teamwork, who came in thinking they deserve to win. This is their privilege to win. This is this is their win. They should be given it almost. And AJC came in knowing that they are massive underdogs. Nothing to lose, but they're going to play as a team and stick to their plan. And they're going to fight as hard as they can. First round goes to Won't Die, and they win by one frag 5 seconds away from the end of it. It was tight. It was back and forth, and it just went to AJC, to Won't Die's direction. And Won't Die was getting a little frustrated because I think they thought it was going to be easy, and the AJC were just going to roll over. Round 2, it goes to, the first round was on Yavin. Second round was on Abathar. Space. Hard to break down the defensive team that aren't looking to 1v1 much on that kind of map. AJC are more passive, more teamwork focused. They don't want to fight 1v1. They want to keep switching and backstabbing and whatever, and moving around a lot. They frustrated the hell out of Won't Die. Won't Die couldn't catch them, they couldn't break them down, they weren't able to force them into these 1v1 situations. And AJC just frustrated them and kept going. And it looked like the JJC may fall apart a bit at times because the lack of experience and the stress and the pressure is real. And they didn't. And Won't Die got frustrated. and that frustration carried over into round 3 as AJC had big leads at points in this. I think there were 5 or 6 frags at one point. One moment. I needed a drink there. Mouth was becoming dry. AGC was just in control of that a whole round. I think almost none of it were one guy had the lead. Like 95% of it, I feel like AJC had the lead. And Won't Die was getting frustrated, lots of team damage, lots of mistakes, lots of running around like headless chickens. No teamwork. And I've done a short, and I'm going to do a second short. And you can see as time goes on, they're getting in each other's way more, they're hitting each other more. There's just absolute lack of teamwork. And AJC are a team of very inexperienced players. Pablo's 18 years old, and he's the most experienced player competitively in that team by quite a bit, from my understanding. They've all started in the last few years. They've just started the game. That's insane. Jador alone has more experience than all of them put together times 10 or 20 or whatever. There's no way that should be happening. Well, in fact, far more than that. The amount of games that Jador has played, the amount of games that ASD has played, Hatcher has played, absolutely, there's 100 times more than what AJC have played. This shouldn't happen. And the ego just got to them and they fell apart. This is by no underestimation. No overestimation. The biggest upset in the history of the game. You have 3 very experienced players that have won cups and have been part of really good teams against a team of players that have basically won nothing, that have next to no experience, who have no big wins in their catalogue. They've got nothing. They're just young players and people that are fairly new to the game, relatively, playing together for fun and trying to do their best. 2 of them are South American, and 1 of them is European. So they're across the world from each other, and they just played without ego as a team, and they have the biggest upset in history, which is amazing for AJC. Lots of respect to them, and it's embarrassing for Won't Die. Over here, we've got Ukraine against Zif, and most of us thought that Ukraine were going to win. Ukraine are strong, and it was pretty much how you'd expect it to go. First round was on Abafar. There's a lot of space. It's hard to pressure Ukraine. They are very, very mobile. They have really good teamwork. They overlap and move around the map so well. You can't pin them down. And they got an early big lead of like 7-1 or something like that anyway. Zif did catch up, but it was, there was such a big lead at one point, and it was so hard to catch them. That's why the scores are so low, 19-13, that it was never going to happen. Round 2, however, very, very low score, as you see. Zif had the lead for most of it, but Ukraine are very experienced, and they've played together for so long. They don't break. They're just so confident. They're just, oh no, we'll keep going. You have 5 frag lead. Don't care. Just keep going. We'll get you. We'll keep going. We'll push. And the Zif team just overextended. They didn't have very good teamwork. They didn't use their lead very well at all. And Ukraine just broke them down and got a decent lead at the end of it. It's a very, very good showing for Ukraine, even though they didn't necessarily get this ridiculous score. They're just like their grinding ability, their ability to just make sure that they win without any sort of kind of drama or anything. Just it was relatively straightforward for them. It was a very good game, and they played very well. YOLO was man of the match of that game. It was really, really good. So they're waiting for the winner between Cerberus and AJC, which will be next weekend. It's just harder to predict than I would have said at the beginning, because Team Cerberus have got more experienced players with the likes of Kane and Piccolo, and they have Peruna, which is, on paper the best player in this matchup by a ways. NA server, 2 rounds, it's a whole different world. Do they have the experience to play on hyping? Because AJC do. They have tons of it now. do they have as are they as organized as AJC and they have their tactics and style got that? I don't know. I don't know. It could be that Peruna and Kane just destroy them and it's one sided. It could be, or it could be incredibly close and AJC just nip it at the end, or even just comfortably win it. It's a hard one to predict. There's a lot of possibilities. But whoever wins, I do think that Ukraine will beat them in the semi-final to get to the final, in which they'll play against Disorder. And then if Cerberus or AJC play against Executioners, that'll be a really good game. I don't. Whoever makes it there, it'll be close. It'll be interesting, and I'm not sure what to think about that. But in terms of Ukraine against Disorder, obviously Disorder are going to be favourites. We'll be shouting for Ukraine, obviously the underdogs. I'm not going to put any opinion on that. I'm going to hold out some, confidence that Ukraine can take the fight to Disorder. That's it. If I remember rightly, there's 2 games going on this next weekend. There's the Cerberus against AJC. I think that's going to be on the Saturday, but I apologise if I'm wrong about that. And the other game that is organised must be in the Consolation. It must be... Yes, it's Jedi Sentinels against Bastard Munchen. That'll be on the Sunday, I believe. I believe that's the way around it is. And I think, once we get a game or 2 more into this, we're very much at the end of it. And we're getting through to who gets first, second, and third place in both of the brackets. And then we can talk about the future. Yeah, and I think that covers everything. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved nearly every single game. Been lots of good drama, lots of positive things to take from it. A lot of teams that are returning from other cups that have improved, worked on teamwork, got their tactics down a little bit better, and it's really, really showing. So it's been really good, guys. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Hope to see you next game, guys. Peace out.